Hello, hello, hello. Hola, hola, hola. Welcome to the Yoga for All Bodies video podcast. As you can see on your screen, today I have an amazing guest, Dena Borman. Dena has never thought of herself as a yogi. She's not flexible and has spent years figuring out how to make yoga work for her. That's why she's so passionate about sharing the tools with her students to make the practice accessible. Creator of the Instagram account Yoga with Dena, in which she's sharing awesome tips for beginners, chair yoga, and so much more. Welcome, Dena, to the video podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Natalia. This is so wonderful.
Thank you for being here. So I would like to start asking you, how did you start practicing yoga?
Sure. So I came to yoga about 15 years ago when I was really stressed out. And I was so stressed out, I was having physical issues in my body, particularly jaw pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. And I kept going to dentists because of my jaw pain. And finally, a dentist told me that I was just stressed out and should probably try yoga. And so I discovered yoga that way and sort of stuck with it because I found that it did help to relieve quite a bit of my stress.
Oh, amazing. Yes, I think many of the people that are watching this video suffer from that, especially now during the pandemic.
Definitely. And stress manifests physically in the body in ways I'm sure we can all relate to.
Absolutely. Yes. So you started practicing yoga, and then when did you decide to become a yoga teacher and why?
Yeah. So about 5 years ago, so I was practicing for a long time, and for a very long time, I never considered myself someone that could teach yoga because, as you mentioned, I am not very flexible, and I never thought of myself as someone that was good at yoga. I couldn't do any of the fancy poses or anything like that. And I sort of thought that that was a prerequisite for being a yoga teacher. And I found a lovely studio in New Orleans that felt so welcoming and so open for teachers of all types. And I realized that that limitation that I had been applying to myself didn't really apply. And so about 5 years ago, I did my yoga teacher training at Wild Lotus in New Orleans.
Amazing. And I know you specialize in sharing yoga for beginners.
Yes.
Why? Why did you decide that path? Tell us the story.
Yeah, so I love to answer that question. I'm actually first and foremost a teacher. I was a school teacher for 11 years. And so my passion, and I would say that my, one of my skill sets is actually instructing and teaching people how to do things. And so when I started teaching yoga, I realized that I could sort of combine the two and not only share the practice, but also actually teach people how to do it and teach people how to make it feel accessible for themselves. So that's what I really enjoy is the instruction and particularly the sharing of the practice for people who are like me and don't think that the practice is for them.
Awesome. And what would you say that are the main differences between a traditional yoga class and a class that is really for beginners? Because we see a lot of classes for beginners and so what would you say?
That was one of my biggest pet peeves when I was a yoga student, that I would go to a class called Yoga for Beginners and it was not at all a beginner's level class. So I think a couple of the main differences is, first of all, it's going to be a slower pace, which allows the teacher to be more instructional, to not just say the name of the pose, but also to explain what the pose means, what it looks like, what it might feel like in the body, how to use props to support your body in various shapes as well as various flows. As well as other variations of the pose. So very often I'll say something like, you might bring your arm here, you might bring your arm here, or you might bring your arm here. So just sort of giving options so that students can discover the practice that feels best for themselves.
Amazing. Yes, yes, yes. Because I love taking classes from teachers I don't know. So
Yes.
sometimes I see yoga for beginners and say, okay, let's try it. And I noticed that the only thing different from another vinyasa hatha class is that they are offering blocks. But it's
And
not
that's it.
enough. But it's not enough. So when I
Right.
found you, it was yoga for beginners, yes. And I love the tips that you share on your Instagram. So useful, so needed.
Thank you so much. These are things that I wish that I knew when I was beginning a yoga practice. And because I felt like a beginner for such a long time, because I find that there are not very many teachers out there that skillfully teach towards beginners. It took me a really long time to figure it out. So I feel like I can really relate to a beginner's mindset because I was in it for such a long time. And like you said, I still consider myself a beginner. I love to take beginners yoga classes still because I love to hear different ways that different teachers explain things.
Yes, yes. It's so fun. And it's also amazing to even learn how other people are offering variations, if they offer it.
Yes. Yes, if they do. But yeah, it's like you pick up little tidbits, and the more little treasures that you can find and tuck away in your yoga tool belt, then you can pull out those tools that you need at various times. So when students tell me what should my next step be after taking a beginner's class with me or an intro course with me, I say take another intro course with someone else, or take a beginner's course with someone else, and just hear someone else's perspective on it.
Amazing tip. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what other advice could you give to someone that maybe is watching this video and is saying, maybe I'm going to try yoga? What should they focus on? What they should look before signing up for their first yoga class?
Yeah, I think my number one piece of advice would be not to give up, and to be patient. So if you're like Natalia and me, and you run into a teacher that's not really teaching yoga for beginners, don't think that it's you, right? Keep searching until you find the teacher that you feel can instruct you. There are so many wonderful teachers out there. You'll find the one, or you'll find several, that makes the practice feel accessible and fun and enjoyable for you. So don't give up if the first couple of tries don't feel like the right fit.
Yes, yes, yes. Awesome advice. I always, when they ask me that, I always tell them, don't sign up for the vinyasa class.
Yeah.
Don't do that, please. I used to work at the front desk in a studio, so I received a lot of beginners. So I always took the time to explain them. This class is about this. But some people just sign up online and they showed up for their vinyasa class, and you could see that following a vinyasa class, if you don't know the poses, and if the teacher is not showing you how to use the props, can be discouraging.
Yeah, definitely. And I would hate for someone to feel discouraged or to feel like they're not good at yoga just because they didn't, have a great experience in one class.
Yes, that's, I don't love it too. And once you decided to start training to become a teacher, what happened in your mindset? Were you a little bit self-conscious of start teaching yoga, or you felt empowered? How was your journey?
That's such a good question. When I started my yoga teacher training, I didn't even know if I wanted to teach. I knew that I wanted to deepen my understanding of the practice and my knowledge and my personal practice, but I wasn't certain that I wanted to teach yoga. And so when I started teaching, I was really hesitant and sort of had to battle through insecurities. And I still do. I think all yoga teachers do. But it definitely feels more comfortable for me as it did when I was teaching in the classroom. anytime you start something new, you have to sort of expect a period of feeling uncomfortable for a while. And that's how we grow. So if you can stick with that discomfort, then you'll come out the other side.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. And you're absolutely right. I think all the yoga teachers, no matter how long they have been teaching, we are humans, we're people. So we get that insecurity. And especially with the way we work, because we offer public classes. Sometimes it goes by seasons. You can get a lot of students, then none. And at least I start asking myself, is it because of me? With time, I've learned that no, there's so many other factors. It's not because you did something wrong, because they don't love you. No, but
Absolutely.
it's super important point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still ride those waves as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how did your teaching life change before the pandemic and now during the pandemic?
Yeah, so I was teaching more so on the side before the pandemic. And when we went into quarantine, I didn't have anything else to do because all of my various jobs had shut down. And so I decided to teach from home every day. And I just opened up classes to whoever wanted to attend, friends, family, community members. And I was teaching often, teaching every day. And I really, really loved it. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I want to keep doing this. And so now I'm more intentionally teaching yoga more regularly. And I do love it. So as long as I love it, I'm going to stick with it.
Oh, amazing. Yes, for many yoga teachers, this pandemic thing, one, gave us freedom, because we were, at the end of the day, we were only depending on what the studios were doing with the hours of the studios that were available. So now basically you can teach any prime day, any prime time, and from your house.
Yes, that's my favorite part, is being able to teach from home.
Yes. And in relation with the use of props before the pandemic and now, has it been a challenge to translate the way you need to use the props, or not really?
It took some adjusting. When you're in a yoga studio, you can say, turn to face the blue wall, and then everyone's facing the same direction. When you're teaching virtually, everyone is oriented in a different direction, and you don't have the same geographical markers. So you have to think of different ways to figure out to explain. So it took some adjustment in my cueing and in my language, but I think for the most part, I've figured it out now, but I definitely experienced that shift of, oh, I can't just tell everyone to turn their chair towards the sidewall because everyone's sidewall is different.
Oh, great tips. Yes.
Yeah.
And what message would you tell to someone that is watching this video that maybe is started practicing almost a year ago, let's say, when the pandemic started, and they are feeling the calling of becoming a yoga teacher, but they think, my body is not the way I see it is supposed to be? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that if you think that your body is underrepresented in the yoga community, that is all the more reason to go become a yoga teacher, because yoga truly is for all people in all bodies. And so let's get more representation out there. We don't need more cookie cutter yoga teachers, right? There's plenty of those. And so if you feel like you're different, then you should become a yoga teacher, because you're going to speak to the other people who feel like they're underrepresented.
Love that advice. I also advise that. Do it. Go and do it.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
And I would like to ask you a question that I ask all the guests. Yoga for All Bodies is all about variations and using props. So I would like to know, what is your favorite prop and why? And only
Oh
one.
my goodness. Oh, if I only had to choose one. You know, it's so obvious, but I love using yoga blocks. I just feel like they're so versatile. And as someone, as you mentioned, that I'm not a very flexible person. And so using yoga blocks has opened up my practice to me in ways that I couldn't have anticipated and still wouldn't be able to have experienced if I wasn't open to using a yoga block. It's so simple, but it makes all the difference.
Yes. I also love blocks because basically you can bring the earth closer to your hands. It is support. You can sit, you can build restorative poses.
And there are so many, you bring the earth closer to your hands, but also when your hand has more height, then you can feel more open in the body. There's so many like residual effects of giving yourself the support you need.
Yes. And according to your experience and with the use of props also, if a new beginner is asking, a beginner, not a new beginner, a beginner asks you, what prop should I buy first? What would be your answer?
Well, first I would tell a yoga beginner that there are substitutes for most props that you find in a yoga studio from around your home. So at the beginning of the pandemic, we were using Lysol canisters instead of blocks, or boxes of wine, or books, or anything that you have lying around your house. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I can't start a yoga practice because I don't have these props. So, but you know what I think I would say, Natalia, is I would say to use a chair, because a chair can function as a block if you don't have blocks. And then a chair, of course, you can utilize as a chair. So my number one prop, if I had to just choose one to tell a student to have, would be a chair, which again, most people have around the home. So you're all good to go. You're ready to start.
Love it. Yes. Amazing. And finally, if there's something else you would like to add, let me know. If not,
okay,
please tell us, how can people find you? Promote yourself, give all your information.
Sure. So I'm on Instagram as Yoga with Dena, and my name is spelled Dena. I also have a website, which is www.denaborman.com. So my first name and my last name. You can find me there. You can find me 5 days a week live on Zoom. And I also teach recorded classes and courses through Wild Lotus Yoga, which is based in New Orleans. But since most things are virtual these days, you can join from anywhere.
Amazing. So now you know you have all the information if you want to start your yoga practice with a teacher that is dedicated to teach beginners. That is super, super needed in the yoga world. Anything else you would like to add, Dena?
I can't think of anything, Natalia. You did such a good job of covering all the bases.
Thank you. Thank you for talking with me. Thank you for talking with the audience of the Yoga for All Bodies video podcast. Thank you for being with us, for sharing your message. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
And if you're watching this video, like it, share it, subscribe, because we need to spread the message that everybody can practice yoga. And see you soon in a new episode of the Yoga for All Bodies video podcast. Bye, Dena.